That which experiences all colors has no color. That which experiences all shapes, all textures, has no shape, has no texture. It's Snow White.
Welcome to another episode of the Filmosophers Movie Talk Show. I'm Chris Bush.
I'm Dean Sluyter.
On the Filmosophers, we talk about film and filmosophy with the people who make and who love the movies. And today we have another episode of Cinema Nirvana, in which today our Dharma docent Dean does Disney. I do like that. Now,
Chris,
that was spontaneous, but not in this moment.
you owe someone an apology for that.
When I was planning to do this show, I thought that just came up, and I thought, oh, that's a keeper.
Okay.
So, Dean, for the uninitiated, if this is their first go at a Cinema Nirvana segment, will you just share quickly what it is you do and how you do it?
Okay. I don't know how I do it. It's just I wake up in the morning and this stuff's going on. But what I do is, my two great passions are Dharma, the path of awakening, and movies. A few other things are in there, music and my grandchildren and a few other things. But what I do is I look at movies through the Dharma eye. I look at movies, and I particularly like to look at films where most people would say there can't possibly be any spiritual content here, any Dharma content, anything that has anything to do with awakening, and show that, oh, no, here it is, because by its nature, if it's really what it's supposed to be, it's awakening to the infinite. Hey, the infinite's got to be everywhere.
Wonderful. And today we're going to take a Cinema Nirvana journey into Walt Disney's classic animated film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Right. A lot of people these days don't realize this was the first animated feature film. And while it was in production, the long ramp up of production, it was known in the press as Disney's Folly. Walt and his brother Roy had huge success, really worldwide success, with their Mickey Mouse shorts. And then Walt came up with this idea, which no one had ever dreamed of before, that you would get adults and children to sit down through a whole feature-length animated film that would make them laugh and make them cry. And no one knew if it could be done. And our whole, segment of the film industry of animated features really comes out of this film. And he was hugely innovative. There are shots where the camera moves in. The opening shot, you want to make sure you saw what he's doing, where the camera is doing a slow zoom at night into the castle of the wicked stepmother, with all the lights are off and the one little lonely light is on in the one little rectangular window, and as the camera does the slow zoom in, the trees are moving out of the way. And that was this 3D camera apparatus that Disney and his technicians had to invent, with this multi-plane thing with the camera moving through the planes. He was mixing, he had his animators mixing a whole new palette of colors. They had actual little people who came in and moved and danced and so forth, and they filmed them live and they used them as models for the Seven Dwarfs. So it was a huge thing, and it wound up being it actually was the first great international blockbuster of the talkie era. Disney showed it could be done.
Yeah, and remarkable innovator and risk taker, because it was not the only time he bet the bank on one of his ideas, right. Disneyland being among them.
Right. So what's going on there Dharma-wise? The film opens, as I said, not with Snow White, but with the wicked stepmother, the queen. And it's weird logically, because what we see is her sitting, she's always sitting alone in the castle, like, where's the king, where are all the ladies in waiting? She's all alone there. And that's because she is the ego. Pretty much, this is an easy call, because pretty much um, in fairy tales, in Bible stories, in Hindu mythology, all of it, when you get the angry, mean monarch, usually a king, in this case a queen, that's the ego. That's the aspect of ourself that says, I am it, I'm the one in charge. I I have to be, and I have to be the only one. What's her thing? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? So I've got to be the most beautiful, or the smartest, or the most hip, or the most whatever. And that's a lot of work. An interesting question is the queen beautiful? And in fact, what she is, and the Disney artists just got this exactly right. She has worked so hard at being beautiful that she's frightening. Right? She's like a nightmare Joan Crawford or something.
A frozen mask.
She is a frozen mask, and it's so interesting that all her stuff with the talking to the magic mirror, that's a mask. So it's a mask. That's her reflection in the mirror, is the mask, and it's the mask of tragedy. It's the crying mask of tragedy. And tragedy, this is very subtle, because the message of every tragedy, whether it's Oedipus Rex or Macbeth or whatever, is that all this stuff, proud ego that you have worked so hard to get, it's all going to go away. So that's the queen. Then we get to Snow White. What is Snow White at the beginning? She's down there scrubbing away at the steps of the palace, the neglected, unwanted stepchild dressed in rags. What's that? That's the true self. That's the true self. The ego is what we think we are, and which has to work so hard to puff itself up, because it's this little finite thing trying to be infinite. The true self, what we really are, is in fact infinite. But it's forgotten. It's shunted aside. This is why, and the reason that we don't see it is it has no qualities, it has no characteristics. It's not big or small, male or female, black or white, anything. And that's why it's called here Snow White. And it's white in the deepest sense, not white as opposed to black. What it means is blank, is no characteristics. And this is what everyone experiences when they go into meditation, and you settle down past the levels of thinking and feeling and the senses, and just settle into that which experiences all those things. That which experiences all colors has no color. That which experiences all shapes, all textures, has no shape, has no texture. It's Snow White. So what happens is the queen gets jealous of that. Right? The queen, when the mirror tells her, now someone else has become the fairest of them all. Right? The ego is jealous of the self, capital S self. The ego, this, and again, you see this in all the Bible stories and in all the myths. This is King Herod, who's having Christ, trying to have Christ slaughtered. This is Lord Rama being exiled into the jungles and so forth. And then there's always got to be the journey for the self to finally ascend to its true place. Now, we know from the beginning, what is it going to take? It's going to be Snow White is going to have to move to become a princess, right? The self has to move from the forgotten background into the foreground. And in this case, in the whole structure of this film, that's going to happen through her relationship with Prince Charming. Okay. Now, Prince Charming, very interesting. The first time that Snow White sees him, she's in the garden, she's singing her song, and about wishing, and she looks down into the well, the wishing well, and there's this amazing thing that Disney has and his animators have done here, completely so light years ahead of anything that had been done in animation before. As Snow White is looking down into the bottom of the well, water, a few drops of water drip from the bucket into the well, and they make ripples across the water, and we see the ripples traveling across her face. Now, that is so. I mean, first of all, just in a way, I think Disney just wanted to do that to show he could do it, to show, okay, I'm advancing this art. But what's going on here thematically, psychologically? Would the queen stand for ripples going across her face? No, she'd be running for the Botox. Right? This is showing, and it's interesting how the queen in the iconic shot of her, she's standing up straight, tall, imperious, looking into the mirror at her reflection, which becomes the tragic mask. Snow White is bent in a graceful, curved, humble posture, almost like she's bowing, looking down into the well. For her reflection of herself, she looks within, down into the depths, which is organic, which is living. So we have the ripples, and that's where you find Prince Charming. Prince Charming is that's the charming nature of samadhi. When the self settles into the self, it's, that's why, true meditation is effortless, because we're just automatically, the mind is automatically attracted by that. The nature of sat chit, of existence and awareness of infinite existence, the nature of that is ananda, bliss, boundless okayness, right? So she's got to get together with Prince Charming, but then there's, the queen is trying to have her killed. She's got to take the journey through the dark forest, the night journey, very Jungian, and then she comes to the cottage of the Seven Dwarfs. Now, what are the Seven Dwarfs? Happy, grumpy, sneezy, bashful, sleepy. These are things we say all the time. Hey, Chris, how are you today? Hey, I'm happy. I'm sleepy. Right? Now, it's an interesting quirk of our language that we say, I am this thing. Right? I am happy. And then the next day you say, I am grumpy. And I could say to you, wait a minute, make up your mind. Yesterday you told me you're happy. Now you're someone else? Now you're something else? And this shows, and there's a lot of cues like this in our language that shows this is the mistake we make. This is what's called identification. There is the feeling of being happy is something that we experience. The feeling of being grumpy is something it's a feeling that we experience. It would be much more accurate, rather than say, I am happy, to say, the sensations that I identify as the emotion of happiness have arisen within my pure Snow White awareness.
You say that, and it's the last time I ever asking that question.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why, for short, we say, I'm happy, I'm grumpy. But you're not any of those. You are Snow White. Right? So we have all of those different, and they're all components. There's nothing wrong with them. They're all things we need. But the mistake is if we identify with one of them. We need all of them together. What do they do, by the way? They work down in the mine digging diamonds. And they have a funny song about that. We dig, 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 dig in a mine the whole day through to dig, dig, right? But they say we dig up diamonds by the score, but we don't know what we dig them for. Right? So this is us going through our life. We're always trying to get the stuff. We're trying to, let me get the car, let me get the thing, let me get this experience. We're trying to dig out all these diamonds of life, but we don't know what we dig them for. We don't know where's it all going? What's it all for? And that's because the thing that's missing is Snow White awareness, which by now is waiting for them back home in their cottage. She's come in, if we look at the thing at a literal level, from a feminist point of view, the thing is a nightmare. She is right? Her for Snow White to achieve her fulfillment, to fulfill her destiny. She can't do it without Prince Charming. When she gets to the messy cottage of the Seven Dwarfs, the first thing she does, she starts cooking and cleaning, right? So viewed literally, yeah, it's problematic. But viewed on this deeper level, viewed with the Dharma eye, oh, when Snow White awareness starts percolating into our life, it starts our, it starts cleaning up our act. I mean, Chris, I know you've experienced this. You teach people meditation and you don't tell them, oh, you have to stop smoking. But then they come back, a couple of weeks later and they say, God, well, you know what? I just realized I, I went from 20 cigarettes a day to 5. And then I don't remember stopping, but the cigarettes seem to have fallen away. That kind of thing happens. Our act gets cleaned up. When I first started meditating, and I'd been to 4 or 5 weekend retreats, and when I got home from one of them, my girlfriend at the time said to me, every time you come back from one of these retreats, you're a little bit nicer. I said, really? Okay. Your act gets cleaned up. And yada, yada, yada. Of course, there has to be a final battle, and it looks like Snow White is lost forever, right? The queen gets her to eat the poison apple, and all the dwarfs go into mourning. The one who mourns the most bitterly, by the way, is Grumpy. Grumpy is the one who at first doesn't want to accept Snow White. Women are poison, right? Because that's the grumpy part of us, the grumpy aspect of us that is always going to be skeptical about. That's the bullshit detector, which if it's turned up too high is going to, screen out anything that can bring spiritual expansion into our life and erroneously label it as bullshit. This comes out, by the way, in the iconography of the eyeballs. 5 of the dwarfs have brown eyes. Grumpy has little black dots. He literally doesn't have irises. He has literally no way to let the light in. Okay? And Dopey, who is the one who doesn't talk, modeled after Charlie Chaplin, by the way, the only one without a beard, he has baby blue eyes because he's childlike innocence. This is when Jesus says to enter into the kingdom of heaven, be like a little child. The Zen masters say Zen mind is beginner's mind. When the dwarfs come home from working and they realize someone's upstairs sleeping in their bed, they're all scared, they send Dopey. So that's the instruction. That's how to meditate. To make your encounter with Snow White pure awareness, just go in with innocence. Don't try to be an expert. Don't try to concentrate. Don't try to manipulate. Just, you go in with the, I don't know nothing.
It's the idea of the fool who in truth is closer to essence than.
Yeah. Yes. It's the holy fool. So when Snow White appears to be dead, it's Grumpy who sheds the most bitter tears, right? The very part of us that is most resistant to the light coming in is the part that needs it the most and misses it the most when it appears to be gone. But our true nature, which can seem lost forever, can seem dead, it can't be killed. It can never be completely lost. So it turns out she's not really dead. She was just sleeping. And all it needs is true love's first kiss. How do we bring it back? How do we bring it into our life? Yeah, there's the meditation. There's the settling into the depth of the well. There's the integration. There's a big hoedown scene I haven't talked about where the dwarfs and Snow White dance together. The integration of the self and all the aspects, the modes, the dwarfs. But the final thing that ignites the final awakening is love. And then in the last scene, they ride away together to the castle. And isn't it interesting? That castle, that last shot, that ain't no ordinary, that's not just some piece of, real estate in Florida or something. That castle is floating in the clouds. So that clearly is, that's not just, okay, now you're going to preside over a kingdom. You're going to preside over the kingdom of heaven. So well done, Walt.
Okay, that was great. I love listening to you riff on the Dharma wisdom about these movies we all know. I don't think we'll ever see Snow White the same way. And when we watch it with the eye of wisdom awakened, this is how we grow and enjoy. We're entertained and inspired.
This is how we roll. Yep.
This is how we roll.
And I'd like to encourage our viewers, you can do this too. You look at movies, get your own spiritual take, your own Dharma take on it, and, drop us an email. Let us know what you're seeing.
Absolutely. So thanks for joining us on this edition of the Filmosophers Cinema Nirvana episode, and join us for next episode of the Filmosophers. Thank you.